If you are looking for an absolute masterclass in hardcore forensic pathology, dark psychological profiling, and a pulse-pounding, deeply claustrophobic, shattered family under siege crime epic, you need to clear your calendar for Patricia Cornwell. We are stepping directly into the cold, calculation-heavy shadow universe of the world's most famous medical examiner with Blowfly, a spectacular, high-gear, and beautifully executed 12th installment that completely upends the status quo of the legendary Kay Scarpetta mythos. Let's lay out the strategic narrative grid. If you are a fan of stories where a brilliant forensic pathologist leaves her institutional comfort zone to become a private consultant, where horrific crimes in Florida, Virginia, and Eastern Europe are connected by a single terrifying thread of generational malice, and where the author utilizes flawless, bleeding-edge forensic realism to build an elite investigative perimeter around the most disturbing corners of the human soul, this book is engineered to lock you in. Cornwell completely dominates the medical examiner gothic thriller dynamic, capturing the heart-racing tension and meticulous autopsy details popularized by Kathy Reichs, Corinne Slaughter, and Tess Gerritsen, while treating forensic entomology, cybersecurity warfare, and deep emotional trauma with exquisite care. The narrative tracking grid finds Dr. Kay Scarpetta in a state of self-imposed protective isolation. Having been politically maneuvered out of her long-held position as Chief Medical Examiner of Virginia, Kay has retreated to sunny Florida, setting up a fragile safety buffer as a private forensic consultant. She is deeply wounded, not just by the loss of her professional infrastructure, but by the lingering, agonizing grief of losing the love of her life, FBI profiler Benton Wesley, who was brutally murdered by a cartel of psychopaths years earlier. The spark ignites when Kay is pulled into a highly unusual, calculation-heavy death investigation in Louisiana involving a wealthy, reclusive woman found dead in a historic mansion. The investigative grid takes an incredibly hostile and terrifying turn when the forensic evidence, specifically the developmental cycles of the blowflies infesting the crime scene, points to a level of calculated sadism that mirrors the work of her ultimate nemesis, the incarcerated, hyper-intelligent serial killer, Jean-Baptiste Chandon, the Wolf. Operating from his high-security death row perimeter, Chandon is still pulling strings, utilizing an intricate network of corrupt lawyers and psychopathic disciples to strike at Kay from behind bars. Kay's fierce protective and analytical instincts lock on with absolute unyielding intensity as the conspiracy rapidly breaches her personal defenses. The narrative expands across multiple viewpoints, tracking her brilliant but deeply troubled tech genius niece Lucy Farinelli, who has formed a rogue, heavily armed private investigation vanguard, and her fiercely loyal, rugged former police partner, Pete Marino, who is spiraling into his own dark psychological abyss. But the ultimate shockwave hits the group's emotional parameters when a stunning, calculation-heavy revelation surfaces. Benton Wesley is not dead. He has been living deep undercover in a federal witness protection grid, hunting the very same monsters targeting Kay. What follows is an exceptional high-stakes war of logistical perspective and raw survival. The forced proximity reality of their fractured lives turns their reunion into a volatile emotional pressure cooker. To survive the overarching conspiracy and permanently neutralize the Chandon family threat, Kay, Lucy, Marino, and the resurrected Benton must decode hidden medical and autopsy histories, outmaneuver international wetwork operatives, and survive a relentless gauntlet of mental gaslighting and physical ambushes. It is a forensic thriller, psychological suspense, criminal profiling noir, and international crime drama masterpiece that treats autopsy mechanics, ballistics, and forensic entomology with elite precision. The tension here burns with a sharp, calculation-heavy intensity. We are talking about that high-frequency, someone is watching the lab energy, where a single microscopic fiber, an unshielded piece of digital data on a server, or a tense late-night autopsy under artificial lights carries massive structural weight. The sharp, tactical contrast between Kay's clinical, scientifically genius and the chaotic, visceral brutality of her stalkers is top tier. Cornwell writes with an exceptionally fresh, vivid, and beautifully haunting voice, perfectly capturing the humid, suffocating air of a Florida swamp, the clinical chill of a morgue drawer, and the distinct, subtle scent of formaldehyde, copper, and pure, unadulterated tension. What truly elevates this milestone continuation into elite territory is the author's unmatched ability to write realistic forensic warfare alongside profound human damage. Kay Scarpetta isn't an untouchable superhero.
Her intense loneliness, professional betrayal, and deep emotional scars match the complexity of the systemic trap she is fighting step for step, making her race for survival feel profoundly authentic and deeply gripping. The pacing moves with calculated momentum, tracking intense lab analysis jumps and breathtaking tactical close-quarter standoffs before ratcheting up to an absolute jaw-dropping final climax that will leave your definition of safety completely shattered. Blowfly is the definitive pro-level upgrade your forensic suspense and hard-boiled thriller library demands right now. It is elegant, immensely fast-paced, and utterly unputdownable. It proves that the most terrifying secrets aren't always buried in the ground, but can be decoded one maggot, one skin cell, and one drop of blood at a time. So, secure your personal reading sanctuary, review your defense parameters, open your Kindle, and prepare for the autopsy.